Rev up your engines! Alright, y'all, here I'm Scotty, poo-poo Mercedes-Benz. Well, here's one I won't poo-poo. 190 diesel, almost 400,000 miles. Original engine, still runs fine. Hey, they used to make them good in Deutschland. Now this 190D 2.5 5-cylinder turbocharged car has about a whopping 120 horsepower. But those 120 horses are still working almost 400,000 miles later on the original engine. There it is, original engine. He paid his girlfriend $600 for this car 11 years ago. Now there's money well spent. I love these old diesel engines because, see this? That is the mechanical fuel injection pump. Now yes, it costs a lot of money to make a mechanical fuel injection pump because it meters the fuel mechanically. It has to be precisely engineered. The Germans used to be really good at doing that kind of stuff. It still works perfectly fine. None of this computer-controlled crap. Why did they go to computer-controlled crap? The main reason is it's a heck of a lot cheaper to build. Making this mechanical stuff hard to do, very expensive. Just electronics controlled by computers. Yes, they can meter it better. They do run better. They have more horsepower. They pollute less. They're not simple like this. And none of them will go 400,000 miles like this without spending a lot of money on the electronics when it breaks down. Maybe a little car, but check it out. Back in the day, Mercedes-Benz even had automatically adjustable fan belts. And what are those? They're mechanical. If they're well made, they last a long time, and it sure as heck looks like it's still the original one to me. And you have to worry about electric fans going out? No. This is an actual fan belt. It drives a mechanical fan. Simple, reliable, and it cools the engine perfectly fine. But even in '87, check it out. This baby's got anti-lock brake systems on it. Now in this case, the ABS no longer works. But if you know anything about ABS, if it doesn't work, it reverts to normal non-ABS as a default function, and the brakes work perfectly fine. Good design that when it went out, you could still drive the car. Believe it or not, the air conditioning still works. You had a bad hose, you had to replace and recharge it, but the AC still works on this old thing. Now, a lot of people don't realize, back in 1981, 4 out of 5 Mercedes-Benzes sold in the United States were diesels. That was their big thing. They weren't really known as a luxury brand. They were selling diesels, and of course, all over Europe, they sold diesels for ages. Many of them they never brought into the United States because the United States has never been a diesel car country. Now, as you can see back in the day, the Germans really engineered their stuff right. It not only has cooling fan for the regular car, but since it's AC, it's got dual air conditioning fans right on the AC condenser. The best design possible. It's a mechanical fuel injection system with mechanical injectors. There's no electronics to worry about. There's no adjusting to worry about. And look how easy they are to work on. Here's the fuel filter. They don't make them like that anymore. Most cars today have the fuel filter hiding inside the gas tank. You gotta take all that crap apart. These things were well designed. We'll take it for a ride. You see, it's not a race car. Now it smells like an old Mercedes. And sure, the dash is a little cracked. You can hear the engine rattle, but it's still running at $399, $319. Now this is a 5-speed standard transmission, which is an interesting story. He got it so cheap because the automatic transmission broke. So he bought another car for $800 that had a standard transmission and swapped it out. Now he's got a smooth 5-speed transmission that will probably last forever. They hardly ever break down. The automatic transmissions were the weakest points in these cars. And with the standard transmission, you got a whopping 120 horsepower. You're not straining that at all. Now here we go. 120 horsepower, full bore. Off we go. Well, I got pushed back a little bit in the back seat. It does have acceleration. It's not that doggy. That's what people don't understand about these diesel turbos. When they first came out with the 5 cylinders, they actually raced them around and turbocharged them. And gas mileage, it gets about 32 miles a gallon on the highway. And for a 3,500 pound car, hey, that's pretty good gas mileage. That's going 75 miles around these crazy New England roads. He said he goes out in the country and goes 55, he can get 40 miles a gallon in this thing. And sure, this is an old car, but because of that weight, it still rides quite well. This thing is pretty smooth riding, especially for something with 400,000 miles on it. Now, it does have the fake leather, but still, it's in decent shape. The Germans know how to make fake leather, too. Back in the day, rust proofing was a non-existent thing, so you can see the fenders have been done with fiberglass and stuff because those will rot out. If you're ever looking to buy one of these things, you want to crawl under it and look for rust, because years ago my hairdresser in Houston, Texas, thought he used one from Florida. First big mistake, saltwater coast, right? He brings it to me, check it out. First he paid 15 grand and he drove it from Florida. I said, well, let me check it out. And I got my big jack out, I put it under the car, on the jack point where they're supposed to be, where they have a little rubber piece that your jack goes on. The whole car just bent up as I started jacking it because it was rotten as an old log. Unfortunately, it wasn't all that bad for him because he died about 6 months later, so it wasn't like it was a lifelong experience. He lost all that money, what's he gonna do? I mean, he was dead 6 months later, but still, it's a good lesson. You wanna check for rust on these things. These engines will run forever, but they will rot out. And if they're totally rotten out, then they're totally useless like his. I mean, I jacked it up and it just went right on a frame. It just bunched right in. There was nothing left. The guy had painted the whole car over and it looked beautiful from the outside, but he didn't have anybody check it out before he bought it. And when I jacked it up, I said, man, you got taken. I hope you didn't pay much. He said, I paid 15 grand. Now this was 15 grand 30 years ago when it was a lot more money than it was today. And check it out. Real glass headlights, not that plastic crap they put on them today. Now, it may only have 120 horsepower, and he's towed 3,000 pounds with these things with no problems at all. And trunk space, sure, it's got all the stuff in it, but it just shows you how much stuff you can fit in one of these trunks. Now, granted, it is a smaller car. There's still room in the back seat, and you can see this car used to be blue. All the Mercedes old door cards get warped like this. They weren't all that well made, but if you're a fanatic, and check it out, it's a 30-year-old car. It's got power headrests on. What will the Germans think of next? So has the world gone mad? Scotty likes a German car, especially a Mercedes-Benz. Realize the first car I ever owned was a German car. It was an Opel, and they were well made back in the day. He paid $700 for this Mercedes. I paid $550 for my Opel and drove it for 10 years. If you can get in a time machine, or if you can find one of these lying around somewhere where it's not too rusted out, you'd be surprised at the kind of mileage you can still get out of these when Germany still built rock solid cars with basic engines in them that could run forever. And here's some bonus questions and answers. DI Giants fan says, I got a 2006 Scion TC I bought. It's getting really horrible gas mileage. I burned through a third of a tank at 50 miles. It gives a data. One thing is the short fuel trim is 99.2%. If your short fuel trim is actually 99%, and it's not minus 99%, it's plus, it means for some reason your computer is adding 99% fuel. So you got a serious problem in your fuel injection system somewhere. It thinks something is wrong, that it's not getting enough fuel, and it's adding 99%. In that case, I'm thinking you got really bad sensors. I would start by just get a factory MAF sensor. That could be the whole thing. I've seen them do that on those. Now, I mean, you could have a bad computer, stuff like that, but they're not known for bad computers, but the MAF sensors will go bad. I would say change your MAF sensor, get a factory Scion MAF sensor, put it on. That could easily solve your problem, because if it's adding 99% fuel, something is really screwed up. And it could easily be just the mass airflow sensor that has gone bad. They will go bad and go wonkers like that. Gray Wolf says, I'd like to purchase a new car, but I'm stuck. I have three possibilities: Honda Accord Touring, Toyota Camry XSE, and Lexus ES350. I can't make up my mind. I want a cabin that's quiet, low road noise comfort. Well, get the Lexus then. You want comfort and quiet? That's the best deal out of those. If you want a little zippier, Honda Touring, be a little zippier. If you want in between, a Camry. But if that's really what you want, get the Lexus. They're unbelievable on the road. My wife loves hers, and hers is 19 years old. Still quiet as can be. Get the Lexus if that's what you're looking for. Now, you would get a little bit worse gas mileage in the Lexus. The engine's pretty much the same as the Camry V6 anyways. The Honda would get a little bit better gas mileage, but you wouldn't be happy with the ride and the quietness of the Honda compared to the Lexus. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, Remember to ring that bell.